What's up, y'all? Will here at Schedule Fly. And we were very fortunate to have another long form episode here coming up right close to the holidays, and had an opportunity to speak with Dustin Skudlarek, who is a COO of Bridge and Tunnel Restaurant Group out in Denver, Colorado. They have 3 concepts. I've known Dustin for a while. They've been a Schedule Fly customer for a while. And man, he's a sharp dude who loves what he does. And it was a really enjoyable conversation. I think there are a couple of moments in the beginning where his audio cut out briefly, but not to the point where you're not able to track what's going on or what he's saying. And so I just bear that in mind. But man, Dustin's he's been at this for 25 years. The dude doesn't look like he could have been in restaurants 25 years. I give him credit for aging well in a really challenging industry, and just really enjoyed speaking to him about, they have scaled back a little bit, closed a couple of concepts. They're refining their business and refocusing their business and making tough but smart business decisions. And I knew they had done that, and that was one of the reasons that prompted me to ask Dustin to come back on the podcast. He's been on before. But we talked a lot about, what is hospitality all about, and how do you take, the things you love about hospitality and impart that upon everybody around you, and including how do you do that with your DoorDash drivers and convey something that they can take and then pass along to your customers who, they're sort of the bridge between your food and your customer that has chosen to stay at home. So it's a really interesting, fascinating conversation. I love talking to Dustin, I always have. And this is a great episode. So before we get to it, quick word from our sponsors, Schedule Fly and Flip. Schedule Fly is our company. We've been doing this since 2007. We have about 6,000 restaurants, breweries, distilleries, bars, coffee shops, ice cream shops, boutique hotels and hospitality businesses that use Schedule Fly every day to schedule and communicate with their staff. And our business was built on the foundation of 2 things: extremely simple, user-friendly, point-and-click, plug-and-play software. We've never done a training session in 15 years. And phenomenal, legendary customer support. Simple product, great support. And because we have such a simple product, the support levels are minimal. And so when somebody needs something, we are all over it. We serve 6,000, as I said, businesses, about 250,000 end users. And we only have 5 people here at Schedule Fly. And with just 5 people, we can provide that great support because that software is clean and simple and easy to use. So schedulefly.com, 30-day free trial for anybody, anytime. Check it out. Give it a shot. If you have any questions or need anything, my personal cell phone is right there on the trial sign-up page. And I'd be happy to chat with you. Monthly pricing, no contracts, no setup fees, no cancellation fees. Everything about this business is clean and easy and simple, and we'd love a chance to serve you if scheduling and communication is not a breeze. And however you're doing it now, I think we can make it easier. So give us a shot. Flip Mobile Banking is our partner and our next sponsor here, FLYP. You can find them at flipmoney.com. You can find them in the App Store at Flip. This is a great banking solution. If you own or run a restaurant, please check Flip out. It is a great employee benefit. It should be a banking partner for you and for your employees. Certainly well worth looking into. Flip is it's web-based. There are no branches. Right now they have a checking account and a rewards-based debit card. Okay, they'll be adding savings accounts. They'll be adding loans and all the sweet banking services. But right now they have a checking account that doesn't have a minimum balance. to avoid a maintenance fee. Like, it doesn't matter how much you keep in there. They're not charging you a monthly maintenance fee. Almost all banks do, unless you keep a certain amount in there. Flip doesn't do that. They're not about fees. Banks are about fees. I used to work at a bank. I know how important fees are to banks. These guys have this great, simple product. You can get yourself set up on direct deposit, tell your staff to get set up on direct deposit, get rid of those checks. There's paper checks. They'll get paid early before they would get their check. And they have a debit card that has rewards. When you use your Flip debit card, you pull out your phone and you spin the Flip wheel on your Flip app, and you'll win Flip coins that you can compile to use for purchases, or you'll win cash back. And you can win up to, and this is not an error here, you can win up to 110% cash back. In fact, we had a Schedulefly customer that recently won 100% cash back on a purchase. We had another Schedulefly user that won 23% cash back. So every time you use the debit card, you spin the wheel and something good will happen. So you have a credit card, probably has rewards. Flip debit card has rewards. Flipmoney.com, Flip in the App Store. Schedulefly is your promo code. If you put Schedulefly in there as your promo code and you spend $100 in the first month, they're going to give you $20. Flip will do that. So we know the guys that started this. They have a great team of people. They're care very deeply about their customers. It's why we're partnering with them, because they have the same ethos in their company as we do, which is simple product, great support, take great care of people, and that's a good recipe for success in business. So thank you for listening to our podcast. We love you, and we're proud to have you as listeners, and we hope that you will follow us. If you're on Spotify, if you're on iTunes, give us a rating. If you need anything, call me or text me, 704-906-2031. That's my cell, and I am happy to speak with you anytime. On to our episode. See you. Why don't we just do this, Dustin? Just go ahead and introduce yourself, and then you and we'll just start rapping about what's happening right now with your business, what's happening in the industry, and anything else.
Yeah, great. Well, my name is Dustin Skudlarek. I'm the COO of our restaurant group. We have 3 different concepts under that umbrella of Jay's Pizza, Rosenberg's Bagels, and Lou's Italian Specialties.
And you're in Denver, Colorado.
Yeah, Denver. Yep.
And so 3 concepts, and then in the last few months, and one of the reasons I wanted to get in touch is you guys have you've made some changes in the business and restructured and closed a couple locations. So just tell me about that and why y'all are doing that and what's going on, and what y'all's plans are.
Yeah, we developed a concept, which was Sherry's Soda Shop. That unfortunately was 2 of the locations that we ended up deciding to close on. And then one of our flagship restaurants as well, Rosenberg's Bagels, in the Boulder market. We also decided to make that tough decision. As a whole, I think anybody can assume why does a company decide to fold the cards on a given location. It really comes down to profitability. It comes down to, does it lend itself to, high performance in the company? Is it create distraction, or is there a profitability, concern in certain locations? That's what we saw. We saw not only a profitability issue. I think that, we love Boulder. I think that we could, maybe done a few things differently, maybe chose a different location, maybe not swung for the fence. You can question yourself on it really until you're blue in the face. But at the end of the day, you need to make the best decisions for what is you at that time, and decide what the move forward looks like. We had 8 locations 90 days ago. Today we have 5. So it was a pretty dramatic downsize and kind of reshift, I guess, in the organization. But we really just decided to devote our time and energy to locations that had good performance potential. So into our leaders that are doing a great job in those locations. And we were able to, salvage some of the operators in these other locations and kind of tweak how things look. And we're moving forward with a couple of great people, even from those closed locations. It certainly doesn't come into who's always operating it. I think a lot of things that flow into, is a business going to thrive here or not? But I think that we can ask our question of why very often, but I think that really what it comes down to is, where is the move forward? What is the next move? And that's what we're excited about. We're focusing on the future and not really on the past.
The soda shop.
Yeah.
I lost audio for a second when you said, well, tell me the name of the soda shop. Tell everybody the name of
Sherry's Soda Shop. Yep. And
so
so we had
2
locations.
Okay. So you closed, but that concept just didn't hit for whatever reason. Y'all closed both those? Is it, or
Yeah, we did decide to close both of those locations. One in Boulder, and then one in the Five Points neighborhood of Denver.
I got you. Okay. So you all exited Boulder with the soda shop and the Rosenbergs there.
That is correct. Yeah.
I got you. Man, it's, I think you have such a healthy way of looking at it, because look, you could keep devoting lots of energy, resources, time, money, to ones to try to right the ship or make a hard decision, rechannel and refocus and take the 5 you have, which is still a phenomenal, thriving business, and make them even better. And then, learn from that. And you guys, this is like such a part of it's why I love what we do, man, to be honest with you. Not that y'all close locations, but I feel like we serve people that they're small businesses, and you take risks, and sometimes those risks pay handsomely. And sometimes, they bring challenges that you have to figure out, well, how do we overcome it? And part of that sometimes is like, we need to take a step back, refocus, re-energize, restructure, and chart a really awesome path forward, so that, the wind that, bends the bow doesn't break it. And so I think those are hard things to do, man. I've got to imagine it's tough to be like, okay, we're taking 3 and we love y'all, but we have to do this because it's the right thing for the business. And you'll certainly be, you'll look back and be like, man, that was a really good, that was the best decision we made in the last 10 years or whatever. And then, because it'll help you guys. So I think it's awesome that y'all are able to do that. And now, so you've got, how many Rosenbergs?
We have 2 full service delis, and then we have Rosenberg's Kosher, and that actually hubs out all of our baked goods. We make all of our bagels there, at Rosenberg's Kosher, as well as all of our bread production happens over there as well. And then we have a retail storefront, as well, that we perform kind of on the weekends only. But a little bit more of a bakery feel, more of a wholesale feel, at Kosher. We're a full service deli are in Aurora, which is kind of East Denver, as well as in the Five Points neighborhood of Denver.
Gotcha. Okay. Here we are kind of, hopefully on the, coming out of the tail end of COVID and all that now. So much changed quickly in the last couple of years with delivery and takeout and just, the way a lot of restaurants operate. When you guys sit here and think about, all right, that was a quick acceleration. Now, where are we going over the next few years? What are the trends that you think are going to continue to accelerate in your business and the way that y'all serve customers and, the way you consider your concepts?
Mm-hmm. Will, I think how much has changed in our industry. To the point, like you almost didn't have to be in it 5 years ago to be, where we're at today. The learning curve is just crazy. What we know at the end of the day is that we love people, we love great food, and if you try to complicate it, which the world's always going to complicate it more than that, then it gets messy. So much has changed since COVID. The traditional practice of clientele, of being a consumer at home rather than a consumer in your restaurant, trying to transcend that guest experience from your store that you have a full control on, to what's the impact that we're making at home, from the food quality, how does it travel, how did you package it, what third-party company did you choose to partner with to be proper representation for your brand upon delivery. We've used local companies. We try to sew into local when it comes to kind of third-party delivery. We decided early on in the pandemic to create our own delivery teams. There's a lot of insurance demands around doing that. It wasn't grabbing a pizza and taking it on a delivery like we did in high school. Like, the insurance, minimums are just astronomical to even be able to try to do that from an affordability model. So we use a good local company here that kind of focuses in proximity to our restaurant. And then we do use, DoorDash for kind of outside of that mile radius of our restaurants, and we stretch out to like 3.5 miles. So 1 to 3.5 miles with DoorDash, and then we use a local provider, kind of that more just a 1 mile radius of our locations. But yeah, so much has changed. We've made a lot of dynamic changes to create ghost kitchens, to preserve the guest experience of the people coming in to see us. What we did experience and why we decided to do that is, you'd come in, you'd be in a bustling deli, and all of a sudden online order after online order are populating to our kitchen. And they're getting stacked in the queue before the guests that came to visit you. And, talk about a turnoff. I'm going to sit in line for all these people that are conveniently, ordering from home, and I'm going to have to wait that additional time. And so we decided to compartmentalize our lines and be able to facilitate them in 2 different ways, from online ghost kitchen to in person. You're getting the full experience of what we do.
Is that continuing, or is it starting, like continuing, meaning that are people ordering at home at the same volume they were like 6 months ago or a year ago, or are people starting to come back out and back in and back to work and things like that? Or is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, it's more normal to see a nice busy restaurant now. In the heart of COVID, we were 85% online ordering. We're obviously, we lean into like the quick service aspect of what restaurants are, except I think that there's a huge gap between a full dining restaurant and a quick service restaurant. There's really a large market that you can capture between that. Before COVID, we leaned into that gap, meaning we would still, come tableside and table touch, refill beverages and and kind of work the room. COVID hit, that kind of went away. It was very odd. It was trying to understand what half of your concept represents, kind of. Today, we still do about 40 to 45% online ordering. I think that COVID really changed people's dynamic of wow, you know what? All these restaurants never before had online ordering or had streamlined systems in place, it forced us uncomfortably to do a better job with deliverable to your at-home experience. I think any operator in the country would say that. It was really uncomfortable for us. We had to be super dynamic, but people are continuing to make their decision with their money, that they want to have that guest experience at home. I don't think it's going away, Will. I think that we're settling into 40%. I think that that's what it's going to look and feel like in the future. And I think if restaurants do it well and they can segregate how they perform from a kitchen functionality, that they can actually grow sales, that they can be more profitable in leaning into it and getting savvy with it. And that's what we did, and I'm super on our teams. We have such a smart team and just a hardworking team, and they proved it in spades over the last few years.
You always wonder about something you touched on, which is, once they enter your door, you control every piece of the experience.
Mm-hmm.
The way that they're engaged when they walk in, the experience they have at the table, the food is served, brought from your kitchen out to the table by your employees, and everything is under your control. And when you send food home, now it's just about the food, and you're relying on some third party that's not employed by you, whether they're local or whether they're DoorDash or whatever. That's always something that I feel like I would have a lot of concerns about. How does I've lost everything but the food. Now I got to make darn sure the food is put out on time, hot, in a container that is going to be picked up on time and delivered, not with 20 other deliveries, and that gets there on time. Because even though once the food leaves your kitchen or your door, what the customer gets reflects your brand.
Sure.
If it's cold, if it's a rude DoorDash guy, even though that they know, I know the DoorDash guy has nothing to do with Rosenberg's, but if I order from them and I get a DoorDash guy and I got a crappy attitude and then he came late, then it's probably going to have some deleterious psychological impact on how I view your brand. Is that, y'all must talk about that all the time.
We certainly do. We focus on what we can control.
Yeah.
And we don't, I guess we don't do the opposite. We don't rattle our brains against something we can't control. That's kind of a motto for life, I think. One thing that I would say is, when I looked at delivery in the past, pre this massive business model change, you think just the food, and you think that is the guest experience, and maybe you can talk about packaging, things like that. Well, now the experience just changed. There's still a point of every aspect of hospitality and somebody going to your website. Is it easy to order from you? Do we suggest like items, or do we focus on what Will's favorites are? Do we put a personalized message in there at the completion of your order? Those are things that we're diving hospitality into our website, into the communication platform, and then really managing expectations. Not saying, hey, it's going to take 15 minutes to prepare your food and 15 minutes to deliver it. Having more of a dynamic look at this is the increase of the business over these certain hours, and really manage the expectation around that. Because I think if an expectation is understood and we can put forth an amazing quality product and then we take care of our delivery drivers. We impart on them hospitality when they're walking in to pick up the food. Hey, how are you? How's your day going? You know,
Yeah.
like engaging.
Yep.
You and I speaking right now are absolutely feeding off each other. And I think that that's the whole point in human interaction. If you're going to take it out, embed it into somebody that's going to be able to deliver it back. And I think that that's a really impactful thing. I think a lot of times, you know, a dasher or somebody that's coming in from a third party company, you know, they're just going through the steps.
Yep.
They're just, and I mean, man, that would bore the crap out of me. I would just hate to do that because it's just like over and over and over, and like you're losing engagement. And nothing worse than creating a poor attitude is having a chip on your shoulder about that third party deliverer coming in and saying, yeah, what else you got? What's the name? And you're like very rude and direct, and you're not warm and empathetic and compassionate. Well, then you're not going to expect to see that in the delivery of that product to your guest. So manage what you can. You know, any floor manager out there in the country, if they run a pre-shift and they're all doom and gloom, they're not going to get hospitality table side with those servers. If they're energetic, they're pumping them up, if they're re-embracing why we do what we do, and it starts that fire, that's when you get a dynamic and dynamite service that takes place. You got to sow in your people so that you get a return on that hospitality investment.
Oh, brother, preach, man. I love it. You know, that is the best way I've ever heard anybody look at that part of the business, which everybody has, almost everybody has third-party delivery services now. And you watch, I go to restaurants, I watch them come in, and you watch how, you know, where do they get the food, and how, man, if you can get them to realize out of the 10 deliveries that they've got to make that day, yours is the one that they're going to enjoy the most, then absolutely they're going to, you're paying for the experience that will hope, you know, will get passed along to the guests. I think that's freaking brilliant, man. I mean, I love that. I love the way that you just, I mean, dude, I'm sold. Like if I were in a pre-shift meeting and I was hearing that, I'd be like, heck yeah, like let's just make it a point today that all these drivers that come in, like we're going to make their day. Like
right.
We're going to look them in the eye, we're going to be kind, thank them, ask how they're doing, you know, make sure they know they're appreciated, and that will emanate out in some positive way into the world. This is why, man, I love this industry, dude. I really do. It's just amazing to me how much I don't think most people realize, although I think they realize it more from COVID when their favorite restaurants were all shut down for a while. It's like how much of like culture and community and it's like it's just woven through any good city or town is like the good, well-run, thoughtful, intentional, independent restaurants. You know, they add so much life to any and vibrancy to any good city or any good town that they're in. And so that's all based on that core tenet of, you know, what is great hospitality. I mean, it's the food obviously has to be great, but it's like welcoming somebody into your home. You know, you're going to go above and beyond and make sure that they feel great and they're happy and they're content and they have everything they need. And you can do it when it's in your home because it's your home, and you can do it when it's your business because it's your business. But then finding the way to teach and educate and train and lead and put that energy into people that are just there working is like, it's awesome to see it when it's done well. I think it's a extraordinarily hard thing to do that most people don't realize how hard it is to do. And I think it's even harder now because, you know, people left the restaurant industry and they went to do other things. And I know they're starting to come back, but like, that is a really amazing thing to do, man, when y'all are able to get buy-in from, you know, 23-year-old people that are there because they need a paycheck to provide something that is like mission critical to making the business successful, which is that experience.
100%.
How do you do it?
You don't fake it. You don't fake it. If you're mad, you're aggravated about it, be real. If you're mad and aggravated on a regular basis, get out of the industry, right?
Yes.
Happy people do it. But what I'll say is, I mean, you create a sense of community. You do that by communication, by being there, by being shoulder to shoulder, by sharing the benefits of why you do what you do. And I mean that by perks, by money, by you name it. We are, Denver specific, it's really getting to be a point of it's an expensive place to live. And my gosh, what things you can do is, I mean, first of all, we're a full tip pool system. So, everybody gets the same pro rata share of tips based on hours worked and capacities of certain volume and things like that. We pay handsomely. We're going to even be paying more now starting the first of the year. We have a pretty aggressive uptick for minimum rates of pay. So you don't get greedy. You don't have a tight fist when it comes to money and perks in your business. We're in the industry not to get rich, to be honest. It's any business is meant for profit, so to speak. But we do it because of community. We do it because we feel like we are the glue. We have something to provide to our community, and the community responds very well to that. I think that getting the right people on the right seats on that bus in any restaurant is hyper critical. I think that letting everybody really have a voice around it. We realize that communication and community and what we're doing, we want people to sow into their passions and into food and hospitality and the care for the guests. And we want to hear back from those people as well. What are the challenges that you're coming up against? What can we do to better support this? If this was yours, what would you do? And really open up that communication. If I walk up to a cashier and I just say, hey, is there anything I can do to better your day? Is there something that I can do for you? Is there a role reversal that we can adopt here in leadership to say, you don't work for me, I work for you, and thank you for being here. Thank you for being such an impactful frontline person for not only our brand, but for this community. They care about you. And really listen to your people. Sit down with them, have direct conversation, and expect to get educated from that person. Create an open channel of communication and expectation of each other, and how the relationship's going to work. It's tough to get people excited. It's a whole lot easier to have the opposite happen. So you need to be extremely intentional about it, and you need to, on a constant basis, let your people know that you work for them and show up with your actions. to provide the backing to that, because there's nothing worse than somebody saying that they're this type of leader and then they don't show up in their actions. Be real, be honest, be raw with your staff, and push the love and passion that you have for what we do into them. Tell them your stories, listen to theirs, and create a family. It's not, somebody can't say, hey, we have a culture of family in our establishment without knowing the good parts and the bad parts of that person, right? It's an unconditional love.
Yes, man. I love that. God. How long have you been in the industry?
I guess we're coming on about 25 years.
Dude, you don't look old enough to have been in this thing 25 years, man. That's awesome. What is it? I mean, I have a guess based on what some of the things you said, but why do you do what you do?
I'm just a glutton for punishment, Will. I got into the industry at a young age. I did it, not because I was just inherently just passionate about food or anything like that. I did it because it was like a side gig. It was a job. It was, like, I'm going to work the saute station tonight, or I'm going to serve the tables tonight, or whatever that was. And I grew to understand that the dynamic of a restaurant, it like transcends every business platform out there, right? I love food. As much as I cook in a store, I cook at home. I love understanding, and there's never a point of saying I've now mastered this. It's always it's an ever-changing thing, and it feeds me, because whatever I put into it, I get that back out, and the more that I know, the more I understand I'm a student to it. I love seeing a smile on a child's face. I love seeing, a grandparent be so prideful about the community of a restaurant. It just kind of, it shifts to kind of all makes and models, if you will, and what people love about it. It's everything. It's agriculture to finance to construction to marketing and PR. You have everything under one industry's roof. That's pretty special. I can't tell you another industry that shares that. My brother's been in like soft goods retail for 30 years. We share a lot, because there's a lot of dynamic traits that transcend those two things of, like, I guess we can just generically call it retail, right? Because restaurant fits into a retail sector, but we can share across what retail means, what it means to, create that experience and to gain that experience from that. You can see something you created, and you can see how people are experiencing something that was of your hands, and that's special. It's, again, just to reiterate it transcends like every industry out there, and it's awesome. It really is. You get to work with a lot of cool people.
A lot of cool people, man. I gotta tell you, this is like we're I don't know what episode this is, 403, 404, I don't know, of this podcast over the last 8 or 9 years, or however long we've been doing that. And I'm amazed at the people that I feel so fortunate to get to talk to, that we serve at Schedule Fly, that just every time I talk to one of y'all, I'm like, I don't know how you do it. I'm amazed that you're able to do it and stay sane. And I'm thankful that you do it because, like, I truly do believe, and I didn't know this, 15 years ago when we started serving restaurants. It was like, well, we have, Wes wrote the code and he used to make the schedule in a restaurant. And it was like, here's what I would have wanted, instead of Excel, which is what, he had to use. And it was like, well, how do we get a lot of folks to buy this software? And through learning about, independent hospitality providers and all the folks we've gotten to interact with, I'm just truly amazed at how profoundly deep my appreciation is for what y'all do. And it is the only, I mean, it touches every single part of the economy, literally, like one restaurant, one location. It touches every single part of our economy, and it's amazing. And well, let me ask you this. So 25 years in, you've got, and you said cooking at home. So do you have kids?
I do. Yeah, I have 2 kids.
Are they coming up in the restaurant, or how old are they?
No, not quite. They're 1 and 4.
Okay.
My 4-year-old boy, he loves grabbing a dining room chair and pulling it over to the stove and popping his head over the top and getting involved. So, it's cute, but at the same time, he does have appreciation for it. I know that his, food vocabulary, if you will, is, it's well beyond what mine was as his age. And it's just fun to see, kids experience food. I think that I've learned a lot around that, and seeing maybe what adjectives or what experiences a kid might have around certain food, or hey, dad, reminds me of this, or we went grocery shopping together yesterday, and we were celebrating a birthday at home, and we were getting things for tacos. And just to see his mind start turning on, like, can we get some avocados? Can we get this? Let's make a pico, let's whatever. And just to see that there's an actual care for that, I think it's super special. That tells me that whatever that child ends up wanting and desiring, that there's going to be steps of development that he's going to understand that have to go into something to get something good out of it. Again, I think that's another narrative for a restaurant, for our community. What you put in is what you get out. No, my kids are awesome, and that's a lot of my passion, to be honest, Will.
4 and 1. So between that and operating a successful business, do you have time for reading or listening to podcasts yourself, or like, what do you do outside of that?
I do a good amount of reading.
What kind of stuff do you read?
What do I read? Is that you asked?
Yeah, like what kind of books do you read?
I hate saying like the self-help category, but it kind of is, right? I'm just finishing up a book with my team, actually. We're reading it as a kind of a small book club within our restaurant group, but it's called The Speed of Trust. That's been an amazing book. I think that it provokes a lot of honest conversation about how each other work and think, and then inherently act.
What's it called?
The Speed of Trust.
Okay, got it.
Good book. In fact, I'll send it to you on Audible, Will. Yeah, and I think that being in a community of people that you trust, respect, and appreciate, if they're also book readers and they're saying, hey, you know what, you're at this season in your life, I think you would really enjoy this, or I think that you would really love this, or I think you really need this. Creating an accountability of relationship of, Will, where do I think your growth needs to be at? This is why I love you, and this is what I want you to get from it. Check this out, and like that's saying, hey, I care about you, but I'm gonna let an author that shook my heart shake yours. So I think that's super valuable. I read,
Yeah.
Podcasts. If there's certain topics where I'm just like, I really need to understand where this person's head's at around this topic, then I will chime in on those. But I definitely lean into books a little bit more.
Have you read, I just looked this up. The book is called Unreasonable Hospitality. I was trying to remember his name. I knew it was Will Godara.
Evan, Unreasonable Hospitality. I'll definitely put it in for sure.
Yeah, he worked for Danny Meyer, and he owns, I don't know if he's still involved, but 11 Madison Park.
Yeah. Okay.
And I heard, I mean, they're thankfully they're 11 Madison Park and Nomad. They're customers of ours, and that's how I heard about this book. But apparently, this book is it's new, but it's phenomenal apparently. And I have not read it, but it may be one to put on your list. I've heard it's just fantastic. So that may be a good one to check out. Are you familiar with kind of a random change of subject or whatever, but in a little bit here, I'm having a conversation with the executive director over at Eat Denver. Do you know them?
Yeah. So that's recently changed over, and I'm trying to remember who that is now. But Katie, who was the former, great person. But I haven't made kind of the new connection with the executive director. But Katie left maybe 2 months ago or something like that. But she was a wonderful person.
Yeah, Kristen's our new ED. She was there. Because I'm just talking to them about, finding ways, like if I put my Schedule Fly hat on, like that we at Schedule Fly can get connected with them and get involved. I mean, I've heard a lot of good things about Eat Denver, and, we have a lot of customers out in Denver and Boulder in that area. And there's a whole lot more. I mean, there's so many great independent operators. So anyway, I was just curious. I'm talking to her in a little bit and just finding more out about them. Dana Query from Big Red F got me dialed in with them. So
very cool.
Yeah, man. What else? Anything else on your mind? Anything else that I probably should have asked that I didn't think to ask that you want to talk about?
I don't think so. I guess I think there's more boring stuff to talk about, but that's never fun. But we have some big challenges coming up in 23. A lot of legislation change. There's going to be some pretty steep increases in restaurant pricing. So these are things that me and my teams are really talking about. Looking at our product mixes and essentially pulling those P mixes and creating a performance of what our products look like, what's going to have to move to what dollar amounts, with just general wage increase, as well as there's the paid time off, paid sick time, all these things that are, it's really going to change the game. It has like it has a $750,000 impact on us for 23. And so that's a big number. And so, we're really identifying the traditional costs of business that restaurateurs may look at from a percentage standpoint and saying, I really feel comfortable being in that 25 to 30% food cost. Now we're really looking at gross profit. We're not looking at percentage margins anymore. And so that's another big thing that I've challenged myself, my teams to, talk through and understand a little bit more. I have friends in the industry that, I have a friend in the industry that's in the steakhouse business. He's running a 43% food cost now.
God.
And
Good grief.
That at 30%, because that filet that's, sitting at $90 would be 125. You're gonna alienate your clientele. You just need to really just focus on that bottom line and marginally understand how you can maintain it instead of being so percentage focused. So, again, not to bore you with like the numbers and
I'm actually fascinated with this. No, please
do.
And
so it's a different way of looking at it. Instead of, saying, hey, all these numbers need to add up to 85% and that 15% NOI. Now we're really backing into it to say, hey, how do we preserve this business and how do we maintain cash flow and focus on kind of just future forecast to know where we're going to be trending with price points and additional costs that are really going to be impacting us strongly in 23.
750,000. What was that number? How is that?
So
tabulated?
That's increase that's going to happen on all of our personnel. We have a huge group. We have about 100 people now. We've really dialed it back, as I mentioned earlier. And so that impact is on the additional rate increase on them. And, we've got some pretty stiff government mandate as well on the paid time off. I totally agree with it. But it does have ramifications to pricing models. And, that's going to be 80 hours, per employee that we impact in 23. So
wait, 80, so they in Colorado get 80 hours of paid time off per year.
Yes, starting in 23.
What do they have now today in 22?
We have, it's kind of under the COVID clause in the CARES Act, but it's like 36.
Holy cow! So you're more than doubling their paid time off.
Yeah.
Is that for restaurants or is that all? But like,
you name it. It's there. Anybody that has the municipality tax code for where we do business. I don't care if you have 5 employees or 5,000. That is the impact.
80 hours. So on just a 40-hour week, I know that's different, but so you're talking of 2 weeks of paid time off. That's interesting. Okay. Wow. All right. And then food costs were shooting up fast for a while. Is that starting to stabilize some, or is it product?
One thing I know historically is food cost never really comes back down. Everything else just kind of moves up, and then the ship stabilizes a little bit, and then it spikes. But you look historically. One thing I will say is, diesel fuel pretty much drives the cost of everything we're impacted by. If diesel's down, we're trending in the direction. But at the end of the day, if something's really shooting up in costs, it's likely not to come back down. It's just it's a unique space to be in restaurants, because our purveyors will switch pricing on a dime with us, and we might find out at the time we're placing an order. And then generally speaking, unless you have like dynamic pricing models and digital menu boards or something like that, you don't have enough time to turn around and have a price increase based on what your vendors are charging you. So restaurants as a community generally are the ones who take the hard hit on that transaction. And then restaurants have to, lag and then boost up some prices because of the cost impact that's happening to them. And another thing is, my consumer, they want me to justify why my price is what it is, why the cost of that menu item is what it is. And I can't say, well, hey, consumer A, why don't you just talk to my purveyor B? Have that conversation. I'm the middleman here. We have a responsibility to talk about what's economically happening, as well as how we're going to provide higher levels of quality and service to justify that perceived value. And that's hard to do. That really is. Somebody can say, oh, $2.50 for a bagel? Are you kidding me? Well, yeah, it actually is. And one thing that a lot of people don't know is in kind of like Colorado, let's say, food's more expensive. If you go to the East-West coast, food's cheaper because the truck that delivers it has an ability to fill up their load on another thing, move it somewhere else. And so the efficiencies in the trucking industry are much higher on the coastlines. And so when you get into, the mountain region of Colorado, they're bringing trucks here and they're generally leaving empty because we don't have massive manufacturing in the community. And so one-way diesel equates to the expensive food.
Never thought of that, man. Makes total sense. Wow, man, dude, I tip my hat. I mean, I truly do. I think what you do and what your peers do is very valuable to all of the communities that you're in. And I mean, I'm thankful for all the restaurants that we have around here and what it means to our community. And I know many people are where you are and elsewhere. And thank you for doing what you do, because you really are like the central tenet of the fabric of culture. And it's such an important thing. So I'm thankful to have the opportunity to share your story and others to help people understand, like, what all goes into it. Because when you hear this, when you listen to this, you're just like, it just makes me want to just go support personally, and my family support independent restaurants even more, because when you really start to peel back the layers of the onion of all that's involved, it's monumental. And it's amazing what y'all do. And you just constantly are tweaking and pivoting and iterating and dealing with like things outside of your control all the time. COVID outside of your control. I mean, it's just, food prices outside. It's like, there's so little that y'all can't control, but what you do control, you do it so well. So thank you. And thanks for taking time to do this. Thanks for the business, for Schedule Fly, but just thanks for, and please tell your team, I mean, for what y'all do, it really does matter. And hopefully each day more and more people, realize that and continue to support y'all, because it's just a huge part of, what makes every great city and town across our country is, badass independent restaurants and small businesses in general. So
yeah, I really appreciate it, Will. And just to reciprocate the accolade, a platform that you guys created that streamlines the efficiencies of my industry gives me an ability to sow into the things that I really care about. And your functionality is really smooth, and it's a high value functionality. You guys created something with understanding the margin of our business, and you're serving our business, and you're not seeing a model of saying, hey, they have cash flow that I can take. You guys have taken a different approach, and that's why I care to be on a podcast with you, Will, because you're a genuine guy, and you're a text away, and you're Johnny on the spot. I know that. Hey, I need this person folded into this platform, whatever. Done, man. go Rocket, like whatever it is. I appreciate that personal connection. And that's why you guys have our business, period.
And dude, that was unexpected and very kind. I appreciate that. Thank you. We all do. So, when you do text me, as of about 2.5 years ago, this is what you're hitting this thing right here.
Okay.
I got rid of that screen, and I'm a better man for it. But this is what it's coming across on. But it still gets text, and I can still send. They're just not long. I don't have conversations over text. What's that?
Still on T9 when you have to text? Wow.
Yep. Yeah, so you're not going to see long text from me anymore. I would get longer ones when I had the iPhone. Now, typically, if you do, you're just going to see a lot of like done or like 10 before. But Dustin, that was real kind of you. Thank you for saying that, man. And we do. We appreciate you. We appreciate all the people we serve. We love this industry, and I will be in your neck of the woods again in January. So when I get it all firmed up, man, I'm going to come hang out with you and have a bagel and just get a chance to hang in person. Very cool. Sounds good, Will. All right, man. Take care. Tell your team hello, and you know where I am if you need me, man. Sounds good. Have a good holiday as well. You too. Absolutely. All right. See you, man. All right. Bye.